have taken medical marijuana before I came here, but then it would not have been over in 5 minutes. So I'm gonna try really hard. I just had a taco. Okay. So almost 20 years to the day, I'm gonna take this off. Almost 20 years to the day, I was a senior in high school and I was invited to a party. And it was one of those no parents home drinking parties. And this was not the first time I'd gone to one of these parties. I was very responsible about it. I made sure to secure a ride home in the morning, and I told my parents that I was going camping. Part of that was true. My friends and I made a plan that we would crash the night at the friend's house and that they would drive me to work in the morning. And so everything was going fine with the party. And then until some jabroni yells cops at the top of their lungs, and in true teenage fashion, everyone scatters. So at this time, what I was thinking was, shit, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble with the cops, I'm gonna get in trouble with my dad, I'm gonna get in trouble with my boss if I don't make it to work on time. And so all my logic went out the window, and I'm just desperately calling my friend who was supposed to give me a ride home, trying to get a hold of her, but she wasn't picking up. And my other friend heard this and was like, hey, I got you. I live just down the street. My friend's gonna drive me there. If you hop a ride with us, you can crash at my place, and then I can take you to work in the morning. And I'm like, done, sold, not gonna get in trouble. I'm responsible. And so we only get 2 steps out onto the sidewalk when 3 cop cars roll up on us. And they ask us if we were drinking, and we're like, no. And then they're like, okay, well, just take this quick sobriety test. They ask us to say the alphabet, just the regular one, just the forward alphabet. And I'm like, I got this. I've been practicing my whole life for this. And so I'm going on the alphabet, and I'm going really strong. I'm getting towards the end. I'm like, T-U-V-W-X-Y-L-M-N-O, fuck. And I just sit down. And the cops are like, you gotta come with us. So I'm sitting in the back of the cop car, and now I know I'm already in trouble with the cops, but I'm thinking about, they're calling Glenn. They called my dad. And I did a story slam here a couple of years ago in 2018. Long story short, my dad's really unpredictable about how he gets angry about things. For instance, he goes ballistic when he loses a game of cards, but for a situation where I'm like, hey, Dad, I got knocked up by a Canadian in South Korea and I need to crash at your house for a couple of months. He's like, it's totally cool. But I was 17 and I hadn't quite cracked the code yet of my dad, so I was totally freaking out. And so he comes to pick me up, and we're in the back of the car, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And eventually he's like, Sarah, enough of this nonsense. He's like, you're not in trouble with me. You've already gotten yourself into more trouble than I could ever get you in. You're going to lose your license during your senior year. You're going to pay a fine. You might get kicked off the hockey team. You might lose your eligibility to become a teacher one day. And he's like, and it just could have been so much worse. And he was right. I found out a couple days later that the person who was supposed to drive me was drunk. And even though I had made so many promises to myself and my dad that I would never get in a car with a drunk driver, the fear of being punished was so strong that all of that went out the window. And it really could have been worse. Because we know I got into an interaction with the cops, and I was guilty. I did something wrong, and I walked away unscathed. And we know that that's a privilege that not everyone is afforded. And so, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And it's just incredible the way our brains work when we are afraid of being punished. But he also said to me in the car ride, he said, listen, if you're ever in a jam like that, just call me. Don't try to figure it out yourself. I'm here, just call me. Don't do something stupid, just figure it out. Help me, let me help you. And I'm glad he said that, because I did take him up on that a couple of times, the Korea thing. And I really appreciate that. I'm so grateful for that, because now I'm a parent, and I have a couple of kids, and they're getting the age where they're doing stuff, and they're getting themselves in pickles, and they're not telling me. And there was actually a really, really amazing, crazy thing that happened this weekend, but confidentiality is really important in our family, so I will not share that story. But I did share this story with them. And I said, listen, I know that you're getting to the age where you're not gonna tell me everything, and I get that, and that's okay. But I hope that you don't feel like you're alone in that situation, that you have to figure it out all by yourself. Because when you try to figure it all by yourself and you're scared, you might get yourself into more trouble. You might make it much worse. So I hope that if you ever find yourself in that situation where you get in over your head, that you're not so worried about how much trouble you're gonna get in, but that you remember that no matter how much trouble you get in, that I will always be there to support you. Thank you.